Good evening. Tonight, our music is written by one of the most famous hymn writers of gospel songs, and it was a woman, Fanny Crosby. Of course, her first name was Frances, but she had the nickname of Fanny. Unfortunately and tragically, when she was 6 weeks old, she developed an eye inflammation, kind of due to a cold. And some of the treatment that she received at that time had an adverse effect on her, and she began to go blind as an infant. But she lived a very full life. She lived to be 95 years old. And she was a very famous and well-known musician, not only of gospel music, but also she wrote over 1,000 songs that were secular. She wrote over 8,000 hymns. She was hired by publishers, and often she used a man's name on her hymns. And one publisher, she was required to write 3 hymns a week. But she was absolutely a brilliant musician and poetress, and very interesting character. She often wrote text to hymns, and she had many of these texts published. She had 4 books published of her poems and of her hymn texts, and this was back in the 1800s. She was very active during the Civil War. She was a woman who walked with presidents. She knew Polk. She knew Grover Cleveland. She admired Abraham Lincoln, and there were many presidents and even Congress itself during that time period that were aware of Fanny Crosby and her influence. She lobbied Congress for education for the blind, and she was instrumental in securing education in states for the blind people. And she married and her husband was also blind, and they had a very interesting relationship. Many times, friends or composers would come to Fanny Crosby with some music, and they would want her to put words to their music that they had written. One of her good friends, whose name was Phoebe Knapp, she was the wife of the founder of Metropolitan Life Insurance Company in New York City, but she was also a musician. And she came to Fanny Crosby, and this is the story, that she played the tune, and she said, "Fanny, what does that sound like?" And Fanny sat there for a moment and then said, "It sounds like Blessed Assurance, Jesus is mine." And so from there, the words began to flow. I know that you're going to enjoy this music tonight. This is a hymn that our Threshold Choir that sings for people in nursing homes, that sings for people on hospice. We use Blessed Assurance many times, and people join us in singing when we're able to do that. I'd like to encourage you to look up information about Fanny Crosby. There's actually a movie about her life on YouTube, and many books and 2 autobiographies that she's written. She's just a very, very interesting and fascinating character. And I know that in the past, I've often thought, well, Fanny Crosby, she was blind and she probably sat in her room and she just wrote music. But man, she was so involved in politics, in community concerns, in welfare for the poor, in abolitionist rights. And so there's many sides to learn about Frances Crosby. Enjoy.